The Premier League was once a battleground of chaos, where anyone could win, where glory was earned through grit. But then, everything changed. A silent storm arrived in Manchester. Backed by limitless wealth and led by a mastermind from Barcelona, Manchester City didn't just build a team, they built a football empire. Pep Guardiola rewrote the rulebook, turned tactics into science, and made 90 points feel like second place. This wasn't evolution. This was domination. This was the moment the Premier League was broken forever. But how did Pep Guardiola break football? Well, let's explore that. Before Pep Guardiola ever stepped foot in Manchester, the Premier League was competitive, unpredictable, and wide open. There was no one clear blueprint for winning. One season, Jose Mourinho's defensive structure would take the title. The next, Sir Alex Ferguson's United would pull off a comeback-laden campaign. Then came Leicester City in 2016, a literal 5,000 to 1 miracle. Back then, 80 to 85 points could win you the league. There was room for inconsistency, and teams could afford to lose 4 or 5 matches and still lift the trophy. Managers played to their squad's strengths. Some parked the bus, others went all-out attack. But there was no singular system that ruled them all. Tactically, the league was more traditional. Fullbacks overlapped. Midfielders were box-to-box workhorses. Target men were still a thing. Pressing wasn't coordinated across the pitch, and certainly not as aggressive or positionally rigid as we'd see later. Financially, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal were the big spenders. City had money. Yes, they'd already been taken over in 2008, but they were still trying to find their identity. They were a team that won the league in 2012 and 2014, but they didn't feel inevitable. You could still beat them. You could still compete with them. Then Pep Guardiola arrived, and everything changed. When Pep Guardiola was announced as Manchester City manager in 2016, it wasn't just another managerial appointment. It was a signal of intent. City didn't want to just win more trophies. They wanted to build a dynasty. Pep arrived with one clear goal: control. Control of space, control of the ball, and control of the opponent's options. But first, he needed to unlearn the chaos of the Premier League and rebuild from the ground up. His first season showed that clearly. He finished third, no trophies, and some major flaws were exposed. His insistence on playing from the back didn't click with Joe Hart, who was quickly moved out. Claudio Bravo, his replacement, struggled badly. The defensive line was shaky. The team lacked rhythm. At times, it felt like Pep was forcing Barcelona's tactics onto a squad that wasn't ready for it. But behind the scenes, he wasn't panicking. He was laying foundations. That season, Pep studied the league's tempo, its physicality, and its transitional chaos. And then he started reshaping everything. The full-back roles were redefined. Wide players had to hold width and stretch defenses. Ball progression had to be calculated, not rushed. Every training session became about structure, angles, and patterns. It wasn't about individual brilliance. It was about system superiority. And City's owners backed him completely. That summer, they signed Ederson, Kyle Walker, Bernardo Silva, and Benjamin Mendy, players that fit Pep's vision. It wasn't just about replacing players. It was about building a squad for a specific way of playing. The results of that transformation wouldn't be fully felt until the next season. But from this point forward, Pep Guardiola had total control of the team, the club's philosophy, and eventually the league itself. What Pep Guardiola did at Manchester City wasn't just about signing great players or spending money. It was a tactical revolution that changed the way football was played in England. It was chess, not checkers. The first big shift was positional play. Pep didn't want his players randomly chasing the ball or running in straight lines. Every player had a specific position and role in the team's shape. They moved in patterns designed to control space, stretch the opponent, and create passing lanes. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance where every step had a purpose. One of the biggest examples of this was how Pep reinvented the full-back role, especially Kyle Walker. Walker didn't just run up and down the right side anymore. Pep turned him into what some call a secret agent on the pitch. Walker would often invert, moving inside into midfield to overload the centre and confuse opponents. This allowed midfielders to press forward, while the defence stayed solid behind. It broke the traditional mould of fullbacks being purely wide players and made City unpredictable. And speaking of midfield, that's where the heart of the team beat. Kevin De Bruyne became the engine of this system. His vision, range of passing, and ability to pick apart defences made City's attack lethal. He wasn't just creating chances, he was dictating the game's tempo, controlling when to speed things up and when to slow them down. Then there was Fernandinho. Most people saw him as just a defensive midfielder, but under Pep, he became the destroyer creator. He broke up opposition attacks, but immediately turned defense into attack with his passing and positioning. He was the glue between defense and offense, a role that's hard to replicate but essential for Pep's system. City's pressing game was relentless. They didn't just try to win the ball back. They hunted it like predators. Opponents had no time or space on the ball. The pressure was constant, and mistakes were punished quickly. Pep's team didn't just possess the ball for possession's sake. Every pass had a purpose, and every move was designed to wear down the opposition mentally and physically. The result? Teams chasing shadows for 90 minutes. Opponents spent most of the game running after a ghost. City's players moved the ball so quickly and precisely that keeping up was nearly impossible. It was exhausting to watch from the other side, but mesmerizing for City fans. This wasn't just a team playing well, it was a team imposing a new standard of dominance. Pep's City wasn't just winning games, they were redefining what winning in the Premier League looked like. Once Pep Guardiola's vision fully took hold, and Manchester City's squad was perfectly tailored to his tactical blueprint, the team didn't just win games, they shattered records in ways nobody saw coming. These weren't just numbers on a stats sheet, they redefined what dominance in the Premier League looked like. Take the 2017 to 2018 season. City became the first team ever to reach 100 points in a single Premier League campaign. That's right, 100 points. To understand how insane that is, consider that before this, winning the league with 80 or 85 points was considered an excellent season. But City? They blew past that like it was nothing. They lost only twice that entire year and scored a staggering 106 goals. Their football wasn't just effective, it was breathtaking in its consistency and precision. But the real shocker was how they maintained that level. Over 2 consecutive seasons, from 2017 to 2019, City racked up an unbelievable 198 points combined, averaging nearly 99 points per season. That kind of consistency at such a high level was unprecedented in the history of the league. No other club had come close to that kind of performance, and it instantly raised the standard for what it meant to be champions. On top of the points haul, City secured 4 Premier League titles in a row, a feat no team had ever achieved before. Winning once or twice is difficult, but making it 4 consecutive times is a different level of dominance altogether. And they didn't just win. They dominated games in a way that felt almost inevitable. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't just good players. It was a system working perfectly, season after season. City also set records for the most goals scored in a single season, the most consecutive wins, the highest number of home victories, and the best goal difference. Each record was a testament to how well-oiled Pep's machine had become. They weren't just scraping wins or grinding out results. They were outclassing opponents, creating football masterpieces every match day. But these records weren't just about impressive stats. They had a real impact on how the Premier League worked. Suddenly, reaching 90 points wasn't a guarantee for winning the title anymore. It became the bare minimum just to keep up with Manchester City. Other clubs had to rethink everything about how they approached the league because City had raised the bar so high. And just when you thought City's domestic dominance was at its peak, they went further. In the 2022 to 2023 season, Manchester City became the second English club to win the continental treble, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League all in one season. This wasn't just a local powerhouse anymore. This was a club claiming its place at the very top of European football. Every record, every title, and every breakthrough was the result of years of planning, investment, and tactical innovation. Pep's City didn't just win. They rewrote the rulebook on what success looks like. This wasn't a flash in the pan or a lucky streak. It was a revolution, and the Premier League would never be the same. But none of these astonishing achievements could have happened without one key factor behind the scenes, the financial muscle that fueled the entire operation. Next, we'll dive into how Manchester City's money reshaped the Premier League and allowed Pep's vision to become reality. Manchester City's dominance on the pitch isn't just about tactics or great players. It's deeply tied to the financial powerhouse behind the scenes. Since the takeover by the Abu Dhabi United Group in 2008, City's spending power has been unlike anything the Premier League had ever seen. This financial muscle gave Pep Guardiola the freedom to build his vision without compromise. The money allowed City to buy not just talent, but the right talent, players who fit the system perfectly. It's not about signing the biggest names every time, but about assembling a squad that matches the style Pep demands. Over the years, the club has invested heavily in players who can execute his detailed positional play, pressing, and quick transitions. What's striking is how the city has adapted its spending strategy over time. It's not just summer window splurges. The club has learned to act fast and decisively whenever the team needs reinforcements. Take this current season, for example. Injuries disrupted the flow, and rather than settling for less, City opened the wallet again in January, spending a massive £120 million during the transfer window to strengthen the squad. Among those signings was Abdulkadir Kusanov, a defender bought from Lens for £33 million. City needed defensive depth, and Kusanov brought youthful energy and versatility. Then there was Omar Marmoush, the Egyptian forward, who arrived from Eintracht Frankfurt for a hefty £59 million. He's seen as a future attacking force, someone who can bring pace and flair to City's forward line. Finally, defender Vitor Reis was signed from Palmeiras for £29 million, another strategic acquisition to bolster the back line. These mid-season signings weren't just about patching holes. They showed City's commitment to maintaining dominance no matter the circumstances. When injuries threatened to derail the season, the club acted quickly, using its financial strength to keep Pep's system intact and competitive. But the money isn't just spent on players. City has invested heavily in infrastructure, scouting and analytics. Their training facilities, medical staff and youth academy rank among the best in the world. This holistic investment creates an environment where players can develop and recover faster, keeping the team firing on all cylinders. This financial approach also sent a message across the Premier League. To keep up with City, clubs would need to rethink their spending or risk falling behind. It changed the market dynamics, pushing prices up and forcing rivals to innovate or spend more just to compete. Yet, it's important to note that money alone doesn't guarantee success. Pep's genius lies in how that money is spent, targeted, strategic, and always aligned with his football philosophy. The financial muscle was the enabler, but the brain behind the operation was Guardiola's vision. One of the less talked about but incredibly important parts of City's revolution is their youth academy. Pep Guardiola and the club's leadership have invested heavily in nurturing homegrown talent who can seamlessly fit into the complex style of play he demands. The academy isn't just about producing players who can fill the bench. It's about developing footballers with tactical intelligence, technical skill, and versatility from a young age. Look at players like Brahim Diaz, who started his journey at City before gaining valuable experience on loan and showing glimpses of brilliance then moving to Madrid. Then there's Phil Foden, perhaps the shining star of the academy, whose rise under Guardiola has been meteoric. Foden embodies City's style with his quick decision-making and sharp movement. Jadon Sancho, who spent part of his youth career at City's academy before making his name elsewhere, also represents the caliber of players the academy attracts and helps shape. Cole Palmer, a young attacking talent already making waves with his creativity and composure, reflects City's commitment to blending youth with tactical maturity. This focus on youth development is reshaping not only City but pushing the entire Premier League to invest in cultivating the next generation, players who aren't just physically gifted but football brains ready for Guardiola's demands. Manchester City's rise under Pep Guardiola hasn't just been a club success story. It has sent shockwaves through the entire Premier League, changing how teams compete, spend, and even think about football. Before City's revolution, the Premier League was competitive but less predictable. There were multiple title contenders each year, and the league felt a bit more open. But once City started setting those record-breaking standards, everything shifted. Suddenly, the gap between City and the rest widened dramatically, forcing rival clubs to reconsider their entire approach. We've seen a clear ripple effect. Teams like Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester United had to up their games, not just tactically, but financially too. Transfer windows got more intense, with clubs spending hundreds of millions trying to bridge the gap. The pressure to find a manager who could match Guardiola's tactical brilliance also skyrocketed. City's dominance has forced the league into a new era where precision, depth and innovation are non-negotiable. Clubs realised that just having talented players wasn't enough. They needed systems, sports science and data analytics on par with City to compete. In a way, Pep's City forced the Premier League to modernise faster, not just on the pitch, but behind the scenes. But there have also been some unintended consequences. The financial imbalance has raised concerns about competitiveness. Some argue that City's spending and sustained dominance risk making the league predictable, with the same team winning year after year. That has sparked debates about financial fair play rules, salary caps, and how to keep the league competitive and exciting. Another effect is the influence on player development. City's youth academy and scouting networks have pushed other clubs to invest more in developing young talent. It's no longer just about buying stars, but nurturing future ones who can fit complex systems and play with tactical intelligence from an early age. Then there's the global spotlight. City's success helped boost the Premier League's reputation internationally. Their Champions League win in 2023 was huge. It confirmed English clubs can dominate Europe again, not just domestically. That attracts more viewers, sponsors, and top players to the league, making it the most watched and commercially powerful league in the world. So, Manchester City didn't just break records, they broke the mold. They changed the Premier League's DNA, setting new standards and creating a landscape where only the smartest, best-funded and most innovative clubs can thrive. But do you think Manchester City affected the Premier League and changed football? Well, let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to check out our channel. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing, as this will help us grow and bring you even more excellent football stories. Thank you.